The WWE Championship is the most prestigious belt there is in the world of professional wrestling. With an incredible 61-year legacy and 55 recognized WWE champions, there's bound to be some terrible reigns in there. And who were some of those worst WWE champions, however? Well, that's what we're going to look at today. If you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the like button and hit subscribe for more wrestling content. Now, this list of bad WWE title reigns is in no particular order, and it's going to be a mix of my own personal takes as well as universally hated reigns from the eyes of the fans. So with that being said, first up, we're going to start with Bray Wyatt. Now, before I continue on, I can't stress enough how much of a Bray Wyatt fan I was, and that him being on this list is absolutely no fault of his own. All this comes down to is the fact that it was just too short of a reign, and Bray just never got the time to establish himself as a proper WWE champion. The guy only got one successful title defense on a random edition of SmackDown in a triple threat match against AJ Styles and John Cena, before going on to lose it to Randy Orton at WrestleMania 33, in what was admittingly a pretty good rivalry up to that point. But unfortunately, all Bray's WWE Championship reign will be remembered for is his hilariously bad projections that was displayed on the ring mat during the match. And what makes Randy Orton winning even worse is that he too didn't hold the WWE Championship for very long and ended up dropping the title to somebody who we'll talk about a bit later. Regardless of Bray's world title reigns not being that good, including his universal title reigns, Bray is still very much loved in the eyes of the fans and will truly live on forever. Next up is none other than the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee himself, Kane. Now, if you guys didn't know that Kane is a former WWE champion, I wouldn't be surprised, as he has one of the most forgettable reigns of all time, only lasting a single day. Kane won the championship from Stone Cold Steve Austin at the 1998 King of the Ring in a first blood match. The stipulation of the match was that if Kane lost, he would have to set himself on fire, so it kind of forced WWE's hand to give him the championship, at least on that night. However, on the night after, Stone Cold would get a rematch the next night on Monday Night Raw, where he would pick up the win and regain the WWE Championship. Now, with the title reign only lasting one day, and with the fact that Kane never won the WWE Championship after that, it's not really hard to see why Kane would be on this list. Now, I understand that this is the Attitude Era, where title changes would happen like every month, but I mean, come on, a day is pretty ridiculous. But at least 12 years later, he'd go on to win the World Heavyweight Championship, and what was a pretty decent title reign. But moving on, we have Rey Mysterio, and this one always just pains me when I think about it, because if Kane holding the WWE title for just a day isn't bad enough, then try having Rey only hold the title for just 2 hours. Rey Mysterio went through an entire tournament to make it to the finals with The Miz, to then beat him and capture the WWE title. Now, around this time in 2011, it was just shortly after CM Punk walked out of Money in the Bank with the championship, so Vince McMahon instantly wanted to crown a new WWE champion. And with Vince looking to fire John Cena for failing to stop Punk from leaving WWE with the title, Cena was not put into the tournament. However, before Vince could fire Cena, Triple H came out and told him that he was now the COO of WWE.
But Vince, it's me.
And he said that Cena will not be getting fired. So the week after that, with Triple H now the COO, his first genius decision was to make the new WWE champion Rey Mysterio put the title on the line against Cena in the main event, since Cena is technically earned a rematch clause from when he lost it to Punk at Money in the Bank. So poor Rey got to win his first WWE championship and say things like,
"Daddy's coming home, baby. And this time he's bringing the gold,"
to only then lose the championship 2 hours later against John Cena. Yeah, Rey got royally screwed over. Now, I understand that the whole point of it was to set up CM Punk's return with the WWE Championship that he won from Cena at Money in the Bank, and it did create a pretty fun SummerSlam main event with Cena as the current WWE Champion and CM Punk as the current WWE Champion. But still, it really is a shame that Rey only got the WWE Championship for only 2 hours. But next up, we got Chris Jericho, and now, if this was his World Heavyweight title reign in 2008, then he wouldn't even be on this list. But his WWE title reign in 2008 2001 leading into 2002, he unfortunately was just a major afterthought and played more of a side character to Triple H and Stephanie McMahon of all people. Chris Jericho made history by beating Stone Cold and The Rock on the same night to capture the WWE title and the WCW title at the same time. Now that is no small accomplishment. I mean, the idea of any wrestler having the WWE and WCW title at the same time just a few years ago before that would have been insane. But Chris Jericho managed to do just that, but unfortunately, it wasn't the star-making moment that everyone thought it would be for him. It did, however, get him in the main event of WrestleMania 18 in his home country, but many think the main event spot should have belonged to the much bigger match that was happening that night, which was Hulk Hogan versus The Rock. Even Chris Jericho himself says that, and he even says that he isn't proud of the match that he had with Triple H that night.
Here's full disclosure, I didn't think our match should have been the main event. How do you follow Rock and Hogan? So yeah, I did not want to go on after, but we did. I've never watched that match back.
So with the fact that Chris Jericho never won the WWE Championship after this reign, unfortunately, it does put him on this list.
You just made the list!
Next up, we have Vince McMahon. Yeah, that's all that really needs to be said about that one. Next, we have Andre the Giant. Now, to newer fans, or to fans who weren't alive during the golden era, you may be surprised to hear that Andre only won the WWE Championship one time, and he's another one who lost the title the same night of winning it. Just moments after beating Hulk Hogan, Ted DiBiase bought the championship off of Andre, and what makes it even more dumb is that the title got stripped off of DiBiase anyway. Man, Andre couldn't just catch a break. Next up, we have Sheamus, and now look. In 2024, it's safe to say the guy is an absolute legend and is undoubtedly a future Hall of Famer and has a majority of the fans' respect. He is a 4-time world champion, and 3 of those specifically was WWE Championship reigns. But if we're all being honest, none of those 3 reigns were particularly good. Sheamus first won the belt from John Cena in a tables match at TLC 2009, and what still to this day seemed like a botch. I've seen this clip over and over again, and nothing will convince me that Sheamus was actually supposed to win. Sheamus was still brand new to the eyes of the fans at the time, only debuting on Raw a couple of months prior.
Making his Raw debut, Sheamus. He is 6 foot.
It's hard to believe WWE would have the trust in him so early on to carry the flagship show as their top champion. But they did land up going with it for at least a little bit, as Sheamus kept the title for roughly 3 months, eventually losing it at the Elimination Chamber. He would realistically only having one big title defense against John Cena in a steel cage match at Money in the Bank. His second defense was against Randy Orton at SummerSlam, which ended with a disqualification, so that doesn't exactly give him a lot of credibility as a legitimate WWE champion. Then after that, at Night of Champions 2010, he would ultimately go on to lose the championship in a 6-pack challenge, getting pinned by Randy Orton. I should also mention his second WWE title reign was also largely overshadowed by the hottest storyline going on at the time, which was the Nexus invading WWE and trying to take over. His final WWE title reign wouldn't be until 5 years later when he cashed in the Money in the Bank on Roman Reigns at Survivor Series 2015. Now around this time, Roman Reigns was universally hated by the fans, and WWE was trying so hard to make us all see Roman as the face of the company. Sheamus' third WWE title reign would be the shortest of them all, only lasting 22 days before losing it back to Roman on an episode of Raw. Unfortunately for Sheamus, he was just used as a pawn to try to get Roman over with the audience, and it really is a shame. But who knows, maybe Sheamus will be able to capture one last WWE championship before he decides to retire. And hopefully it'll be a great reign so that he doesn't have to be on a list like this anymore. Next we have Alberto Del Rio. With 2 title reigns under his belt, both title reigns are mostly associated with halting CM Punk's Summer of Punk. Once of course at SummerSlam when he cashed in his Money in the Bank, and the next time being at Hell in a Cell. He only held the title the first time for a single month, losing it to John Cena at the pay-per-view after SummerSlam. And his second WWE title reign was also only a month long, losing it in November at Survivor Series 2011 to CM Punk. Both reigns were pointless, and my guess is that it was designed to try to stop CM Punk's rise to fame, but to be fair, that could be a stretch. That's just my conspiracy theory brain going wild. Next, we have Rob Van Dam. With only one WWE title reign under his belt, it was one that started off absolutely incredible. He is the second man to win Money in the Bank, and also is one out of 2 people who cashed in the Money in the Bank fairly, without cashing in on a beat up and hurt champion. The only other man to do that is John Cena, when he fairly cashed in his Money in the Bank briefcase on CM Punk.
So at Raw 1000, with both of us fresh, I am telling you now, I cash in this Money in the Bank contract against you for the WWE Championship.
Coincidentally enough though, Rob Van Dam actually cashed in on Cena, who was the WWE Champion at the time in 2006. And it was around the time when WWE was trying to revive ECW and were trying to make it a third brand. With the ECW One Night Stand 2005 pay-per-view being a huge success for WWE, they wanted to run it back a year later. So Rob Van Dam came out to inform Cena that he was going to cash in his briefcase on him at the ECW One Night Stand 2006 pay-per-view.
I'm cashing in the Money in the Bank. Judy Lovett at One Night Stand.
And what would come during that pay-per-view is one of the most hostile crowds I've ever seen in my life for John Cena. Not a single person in that building was on Cena's side that night, and if Cena was victorious, there 100% would have been a riot. And for the safety of John Cena himself, it was very wise of WWE to make Rob Van Dam win. So with all that being said, and how ECW One Night Stand 2006 is regarded as one of the greatest pay-per-views of all time, you may be wondering how Rob Van Dam is on this list. And the very short answer to that is a drug violation. Unfortunately, WWE had absolutely no choice in the matter and had to strip Rob Van Dam of the WWE Championship to be able to follow up with a suspension. It was important for WWE to do just that because especially around this time, they were getting criticized constantly about how they handled their superstars using steroids and other drugs. And it was only about a year after Eddie Guerrero's unfortunate passing. Rob Van Dam lost the title in a triple threat match against Edge and John Cena on a random episode of Raw shortly after winning the belt, and would end up getting pinned by Edge. Whether or not this would have happened if Rob never got caught and didn't get suspended, we'll never know, which is why he is on this list. Lastly, and certainly not least, we have Jinder Mahal. And yeah, you guys all knew he'd be on here. Regardless of him getting praise online in recent months, mostly because of a "Don't Hinder Jinder" meme, and the fact that Tony Khan hilariously accidentally made Jinder the most over guy of the week in the month of January, and regardless of the fact that Jinder unfortunately got released, Jinder was the worst WWE champion there ever was, and I'm not going to take recency bias as an argument that he was a good champion. The guy went from being a jobber to world champion in a matter of weeks, and because of that, nobody was going to take him seriously. He went on to unbelievably beat guys like Randy Orton multiple times, AJ Styles, and completely ruined Shinsuke Nakamura's early main roster push when it easily should have been Nakamura's crowning moment. His performances were not to the level a WWE champion should be having, and it was a reign that went on for 5.5 months too long before WWE thankfully put the championship on AJ Styles, because we legitimately almost got Jinder versus Brock Lesnar in the Survivor Series 2017 main event instead of what we actually got, which was AJ versus Brock. 2017 undoubtedly should have been the year of Bray Wyatt as WWE champion instead of Jinder, and Bray winning the title made so much more sense, and it really was a miss to have Randy win only to then lose it to Jinder, which made no sense. As a fan, it was quite possibly one of the worst times to be a fan, and I'm just glad to say it ended when it did. Anyways guys, those were the worst WWE title reigns in my opinion and a lot of fans' opinions. I know there are perhaps a few I'm missing, and I'd love to hear about them in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I know this was a longer one, but if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like and hit subscribe if you haven't. Thanks, and take care.